What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coach and the Couch Potato, brought to you by the Barn Baseball and Softball Academy, Cornerstone Home Remodeling. As always, I am going to be on one tonight and be very opinionated and talk a lot of trash. The Couch Potato, Jeremy, opposite side of the screen. We got the guy that keeps me in check in the more even keel, Coach Slate. What is going on, sir?
Oh, not much, man. It's been a long day. Had to make the trek up to the home of LeBron James, Akron, Ohio, for a gymnastics competition. Baby girl did great, man. She got fourth overall in the all around. I think out of like 12 or 13. But the most proud I've ever been. Right, these last two meets, she's had moments where she's fallen, right? Or she's like this week, she fell off the beam and there were some tears, but she bounced back and came back and finished. She picked herself back up. And like that is, man, that's the coolest thing to see your kids like persevere through something. I'm sure, as probably watching Jaden battle through, the stuff he's got going on with his wrist, just toughness, man. Like I love seeing that, man. So little shout out to my oldest Willoughby. She did a great job, man. How's everything been this weekend for you?
We are chugging along. The boy went back to school today. One of his teammates stopped here last night and crashed. He lives outside of Allentown, PA, so nice little break for him. They got to hang out and kind of decompress before they get back into it. It's actually Alex's last semester of school.
Okay.
So yeah, he's got grown man stuff on deck. So yeah, it was cool. Got them back today. Other than that, obviously, I'm surprised the cops didn't show up at my house Friday night. Between Jaden and I, it was insane at a couple of different points.
No doubt, man.
I hopped on the live real quick after the game. While I was still talking to you and Jake even, and my father. Obviously, we're going to dive into the game in a minute, but my father-in-law is a pretty laid back kind of dude, kind of religious at times, devout Catholic, and I dropped a "Let's effing go" at the top of my lungs on the screen pass right in front of him, and it is what it is. We needed that. Obviously, the Buckeyes pull it off. Gritty, ugly, tough. I think, where we talked after the Michigan game, Ryan Day has put this emphasis on wanting to make the team tough. Just go out and do what you did on a night like that, and people are going to realize you're tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that Ryan Day's had to battle, man. Losing to Michigan 4 years in a row. People are going to question your toughness, right? Is he the tough guy? Is this program soft? And then it doesn't help that you're going out, you're throwing for 400 yards a game, and you got C.J. Stroud and Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields, all these great quarterbacks, right? But nobody's really talking about your offensive line. Nobody's talking about your defensive line. They're just talking about the Ferraris you have out at receiver, and so that questions your toughness, and so you feel like you have to have this bravado. But we've said it all year long, like this is a tough team, and it's not because they're just out there talking trash or anything like that. They've battled through some stuff, right? They've been punched in the face. They've never backed down. They've always swung back, right? And they lost a couple games with one bounce here or there, or one field goal make here or there. They win those games, but without those losses, I don't think you have this hardened team that we have right now. And so, I think having that sense of effort in your system, right? Like you lose to Michigan. Like what did Ryan Day have to lose after that? What do these guys have to lose after that? And so I'm just glad to see them just not talk about being tough, but talk about the brotherhood, talk about getting that one more opportunity to play together. Like those are the things that you need to be talking about. And you could tell that this team is playing together, man. And so this team is definitely tough because we battled with a very tough team on Friday night because that Texas defense, man, they are the real deal.
Yeah, and just like we thought, they really put an emphasis on taking away JJ.
Yeah.
And they had the dudes to do it. The one ball Will tried to force to JJ, got picked. He got baited. And I think that was in a way good though, because it showed after that happened, Chip didn't try to force it. If it would have been there, it would have been there. But, again, Texas had the Thorpe Award winner. They have athletic corners. They've got, big, lengthy guys. Yeah, and it wasn't quite a legacy game. But Carnell Tate stepped up massively.
He did. And that's the thing that you really want to see from your guys. Teams are going to game plan for JJ. That's the bottom line. I think Ohio State, moving forward into next week is going to try to get extremely creative in how they get him the ball, motioning him, putting him in different spots. I think they're going to try to take at least one shot to him down the field each quarter. Like those are things I think that they're going to do. After winning this game the way that they did, I think they now know, okay, if we got to make this thing ugly, we can win that way. But we still got to find ways to get the ball to our guy. And so I think you're going to see some changes with that. But you always want to know, if I take away plan A, is plan B going to step up? As a defensive coordinator, if I'm game planning for Ohio State, I think Texas did a phenomenal job of messing up the picture for Will Howard at times. Because there were times that JJ was open. But with the way that they have been playing their coverage and the different disguises and the different, late releases to being a half player, being a flat player, like they really made Will feel like that underneath was always going to be taken away, right? And so what did Will not want to do? He didn't want to force the ball after he had forced the one. Okay, so that's plan A. As a defensive coordinator, I'm taking away plan A. I know Carnell Tate and Emeka Egbuka are dogs. NFL caliber receivers. Emeka's borderline first-round draft pick right now. I rather them beat me than JJ, right? And plan B and plan C played pretty freaking good, yes. Right? They did. And so the fact that Ohio State has that ability to go to that has the ability to have a G. Scott, step up when we needed him to and fight for those extra 5 yards and catch a couple balls that we needed him to catch. The fact that Will Kazmarek was able to catch some simple things over the middle. I think he had like 2 receptions for 22 yards. Like those are the things that you need when your number one guy is taken away. And so that was something I was very, very happy and very proud of Carnell for stepping up, especially after that drop touchdown. That could easily put you in the tank, but but it didn't, man. And so shout out to Carnell Tate, man. That was a great performance by him. And that was great to see Will really try to make sure that Carnell was the focal point. And he's such a deserving kid, man. Yes. You know how we feel about him.
Yeah, he is going to be such a vital part of this next year. And Will came out the gate with some moxie. I mean, Will was threading some dimes. That one to G on, I think it was the first drive of the game.
Yeah.
A, it should have been picked.
Yeah.
And B, G didn't even realize he had the ball.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, shoot, I got to go. And, that was a fastball. I mean, there's no other way to put that. And then they kind of reined Will in a little bit. The run game, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the run game wasn't bad. But we didn't run it a lot. If you really look at the number, we ran it when we needed to. Quinshon Judkins came out. I don't know if it's because we were playing an SEC team or what, but that man came out looking for somebody to hit. And you saw it on one of the most probably overlooked parts of a play in that entire game. That block he laid on the one Travion run was insane.
Yeah, that was that was intense, man. And so looking at the stats right now, so we only rushed for 81 yards. We had 24 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both Travion and Quinshon average over 4 yards a carry. So Quinshon averaged 4 yards exactly, and Travion averaged 7 yards exactly. And so, some of those sacks factor into this. I think we would have been closer to 100 yards had we not given up, the 2 or 3 sacks that we did. But listen, this wasn't a great showing from our run game, but our run game was efficient, right? Other than that 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, whatever it was, I can't remember where Quinshon, if he just puts his foot in the ground and gets vertical, gets a first down, But other than that, I felt like our run game did okay. I got to address this, man. There was a lot of people on the Ohio State beat, talking about like all these delayed handoffs and this and this and this. Like, you can't do that against these guys. And, Ben Axelrod, and I even tweeted at him, and I don't ever do that. But I tweeted at Ben Axelrod because he said, oh, wow, coming off the Oregon game, Ohio State decided to just come out with the Michigan game plan. No, that was not the case at all. Texas's defense is really freaking good.
They are.
And so, yeah, did Cam or Scatabo from Arizona State have a great game? Yes, but understand, like we said before the battle, where did they attack them? They attacked them inside the A gaps, okay? And so that's where the Buckeyes were trying to attack them. That was their weakness, all right? And when we needed to, we were able to do so, i.e. the 4th and 2, where Will Howard fell over his feet, right? You know what I mean? Like, those are things that we were able to do. And I just want people to understand, like, they're trying to get creative. They understand we've got a very inexperienced interior offensive line, right? You got to find ways to get creative with them. And when we needed to run the ball down in the red zone, right, in those clutch situations, we were able to do so, and the guys moved the line of scrimmage. And that's what matters. When you are able to do those things, that is an efficient run game. It doesn't have to be a dominant run game. It just needs to be efficient. And Ohio State, believe it or not, won the rushing battle.
That's wild.
81 yards to 58 yards. Like, so, I think Ohio State's run game will be better this week. I think they will improve, but they did what they needed to do to win the game, and that's all you can ask for.
Well, and, the other side to it is we were behind the chains a lot because of self-inflicted penalties. So, obviously, we'll address that elephant in the room. The PIs in the end zone, whatever. I mean, you're giving them a first down. You're not moving anything. The Travion unsportsmanlike, I would pay a lot of money to know what was said.
Exactly.
Because that is not Trey. I have a suspicion as far as at least the topic of what was said. I would bet good money that it was something about religion.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's about the only thing that could get Trey that fired up.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Ohio State's opponent still wasn't called for a hold.
It's crazy.
The PIs, they let PIs go both ways that game. So I'm not going to sit there and question that type of thing. Texas fans are salty about the unsportsmanlike on them, on the tight end. You cannot, and you're not going to get away with literally pointing at a guy after you stiff arm him to Cancun, basically.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you didn't send him to Cancun. You sent him to Atlanta.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen. Then you had Sark whining for the targeting call on a clean Sonny hit. Okay, yes, the guy's technically defenseless, but Sonny didn't lead with his head. He didn't. It was a good, clean football play.
Yeah, it was.
And the other caveat to what happened there is there were some serious shenanigans with the clock operator, and that came from the guys that were in the stadium.
Yeah. Well, that's two games in a row. That was the same thing in the Penn State Notre Dame game, right? Pat McAfee was talking about that. Like, I don't know what was going on. My dad was getting so fired up. Like, what's happening? What's the delay? And I'm like, I think they're having issues with the clock somehow. I don't know, but yeah, man. That's the side of things that I was very shocked by. Is I don't want to say it's lack of discipline, but just the unforced errors that we were making. Like, that was something I wasn't ready for us to have. The Trey thing, and I remember telling my wife that that's a one-off. Something had to happen. Like
Exactly.
in the 4 years that Trey's been here, that's not been him. He gets excited. He may talk a little, especially earlier in his career, but that's just not him. So
No.
there was something there.
No.
And obviously my guy redeemed himself.
Yes.
But the pass interference calls, I wasn't really too upset with. Down in the red zone, man, you want to be aggressive. I'd rather you get pass interference and give up a tutty. But the holding calls and things like that, our guy Luke had a false start. I mean, just some uncharacteristic things, and I think that's going to be a one-off. I don't think that's going to be something that continues. And the reason why is we were able to still win this game, right? And so that was when I started to feel like, okay, maybe the guys are playing a little tight, right? Because they know, like, they have a sense of desperation, like we've got to find a way to win. And maybe they recognize that these errors cost them a lot of points. I mean, the Travion incident where he punches a guy or pushes a guy, like, I think we at least get 3 points that drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you got a 2-score lead. And so they're still trying. Now they got to really play catch up. And so I think there were multiple drives where we just kind of were getting things going and we shoot ourselves in the foot. I mean, we still, after all that and not having a great rushing attack, like, we still almost had 400 yards of total offense. Like, there was not, it wasn't a pretty game, but there was, still some really good things that happened. And so, listen, man, I kind of got off topic there, but it's just like, I'm just so happy we got this gritty, ugly, in the trenches win, man. Like, it's something that this group needed. And we knew that this game was not going to be easy, and we weren't just going to mollywop everybody into the national championship. Just like I don't think we're just going to go out there and mollywop Notre Dame, right? These are things that this team needed. They needed to show against a good team, not Nebraska, not Michigan, against a good team. When it matters, can we win like this? And they proved that they can. I think this helps their confidence rise even more.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's just cool to see, so staying obviously with the offensive side of the ball, the screen pass right before halftime was just beautiful. There's no other way to put it. I mean, obviously, you want to let that pressure through on a screen pass, but our guys were basically waiting to caravan down, and then in pure irony, they had shown the graphic about how inept the offense had been after the Trey penalty. And Fowler makes the comment, well, Henderson can take one to the house at any time.
And boom. Yeah.
And you had, I think Fryer was down, Luke, and I think Henson were the three that created that caravan.
Yeah, man.
You just saw a lot of, I don't want to say dirty work, but blocking is dirty work.
Yeah.
The G. Scott fighting for extra yards to make the 4th and 2 obtainable. I think I've watched every version of the game in some capacity since Friday night. Tim Tebow called the play.
He did,
before they ran it, because I would watch for Will Howard. And Texas didn't expect it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't, and so that was seeing that from a defensive coordinator's perspective. Like, it was all running through my head. Like, okay, we've definitely got the numbers to the weak side. They've really shifted their second level over to that unbalance. I don't know if they're expecting some sort of screen, but you could see Colin Simmons and another one of the defensive linemen look back to the second level and say, hey, the ball's going right here. And nobody in the second level adjusted. It's because we had the numbers out there. And that's where people like JJ, Emeka, Carnell, all these studs that we have, they force you to think. They force you to have to acknowledge where they are. At that point in the game, JJ had 1 catch for 3 yards. You still have to know where he's at. Yeah. Like, he's that good. And so on that play, it was just a great scheme, awesome job. Luke got the pull around. It was just good. Donnie had a great down. It was just good football. On that drive alone, I think that is one of the it was similar to us closing out the game against Penn State, right? We were able to convert some third downs. We were able to run the ball a little bit. We were able to, get the ball to our guys like Emeka and Carnell. Will was throwing accurately. And it was a 13-play drive that went 88 yards and lasted half of the fourth quarter. That's a championship drive.
Yep.
Like, those are the things that you need to win championships. And especially when your offense is struggling to do that, like, hey, Coach Day, that is a tough team. That is a tough drive. You don't have to say it's tough. That was just tough. People will watch that and say, like, that is a tough team. We get down in the end zone or down on the goal line. That, I put it on Facebook. I wonder if Coach Hinton was in Coach Day's ear. We ran 32 and 37G, which is just belly with the front side guard pulling like they had, and like that was just awesome to see. And so that type of drive is a championship drive. And again, it wasn't pretty, but they found a way in that drive to make things happen. And that's one of the things that I was just so proud to see. And like you said, with G, fighting for those extra yards, with Carnell really locking in, keeping those eyes on the ball, securing it, and just getting when he can after the catch. Travion and Quinshawn just running hard. Like, those are the things that were phenomenal to see. And then rewind to that screen. A lot of times we talk about explosive plays and it's just really somebody winning a one-on-one. We blocked that screen dang near perfect. Mm-hmm. And on screen plays, offensive linemen don't really have to get kill shots. They just got to get in the way.
Yep.
Right. That's you just got to get in the way. And they just happen to bring that pressure, and it worked out perfect. That's a tough spot to be in as a defensive coordinator. Ohio State's just probably trying to find a way, see if we can get a big play, get close to midfield, put ourselves in a position to possibly get 3 points before halftime. But when you block it the way that they did and Will drop back like 30 yards, I felt like that was a perfectly executed play, man. It's just, again, that's what championship teams do, man. They find a way to execute.
Yeah, and that scoring drive in the fourth, what I think my favorite part of it is it came at a time when it felt like Chip had tightened up. Going actually almost before the screen pass to the second quarter, you start to tighten up, then you hit the screen. Okay, we're going to come out and be aggressive. And we did come out and be aggressive. That was where Will forced the ball to JJ, got picked. Then we really tightened up. And it's like, oh boy, this is PTSD of the Michigan game.
Yeah.
As far as we weren't doing anything creative per se.
Yeah.
It was a lot of vanilla. It was a lot of, it almost felt like you're already trying to bleed the clock way too early.
Yeah.
And then you come out into that drive and it's like, okay, I'm back in my bag. I had a Red Bull or whatever Chip did.
Yeah.
He was locked back in. The offense did what they needed to do. I think it's hilarious that the Texas fans are hanging their hats saying that their guys shut JJ down. Barron. No, your whole secondary shut JJ down because, I've seen people trying to defend the photo out there. Well, that it was the set. Look, when JJ takes off into his route, whatever part of the tree he's going in is covered because of the way they were stacked. Even I know that.
Yeah.
The O-line.
In that picture, yes, there is another receiver out there, but they're playing quarters coverage, which in my opinion, they're probably playing a version of read 2 or something where they've got their corners' eyes on number 2, which was JJ. They've got the safety's eyes on number 2, which was JJ. And then you have that inside linebacker who's walling off anything outside or inside, I mean. And so I'm sure it was some version of quarters where they were trying to play a bracket to the inside. And if he were to release out, that corner was going to jump. Like, they were just trying to find ways to get creative and mix things up. And those weren't things that they had always shown. Like, they were a heavy cover 3 team. And I think that's why they were able to mess with Will's eyes a little bit, right? Because there were times where JJ was open, but you could tell like I don't want to say he was seeing ghosts because I think Will played really well. But I think he was just like questioning,
They murkied the water.
Exactly.
There's no other way to put it. Because on the interception, that linebacker dropped once Will threw the ball. So after seeing that, the picture it's like you've got the drunk goggles on or whatever, where things aren't always as they seem. And that's defense. And so shout out to their DC for doing what he needed to do. at the end of the day, Ohio State just was that much better.
Yeah.
And then obviously it always helps, well, before we transition to the defensive side of the ball, the O-line, obviously we've talked O-line a ton on here. What a way to get your first collegiate start than in the playoff semifinals, let alone our boy Luke played the entire game. It was Tegra and Saraveld swapping out.
Yeah.
And Luke is starting to get his flowers from Herb Street. And I'm gonna give Herbie the teeniest little bit of props. When Desmond Howard was flapping his gums on one of the game day episodes this week about the roster, Herb Street went to bat and he was like, you realize they only brought in 4 transfers that, and downplayed the whole $20 million thing and talked about how most of the roster is homegrown, just like we've said. So shout out Herbie, but at the same time, to throw your son under the bus and basically say he's the one running your Twitter account this week, not a good look, Herbie. Not a good look. And I also think ESPN is taking note, because I forget which version of the Rose Bowl I went back and rewatched, because again, I think it might have been the McAfee version. During Carmen, Ohio, they made it so you could hear Herb Street singing.
Oh, really?
Yes. So that's my tangent on Herbie for the
week. Listen, man, it was good to hear him, defend the Buckeyes a little bit, because I think, Desmond Howard's a troll. We all know that. For as good as a player he was, he did pick us, but anytime he could throw jabs at OSU, he's going to. And I get it. It's part of the rivalry. But it's almost like, this narrative of the $20 million roster, like you said, how much of that was spent on the 9 guys who came back on defense? Did we get Quinshon? Absolutely. Did we get Caleb Downs? Absolutely. Did we get Will Howard? Yes, we did. Did we get Seth McLaughlin? Yes, we did. That's 4 guys, right? The other guys we got Keenan Nelson, right, who's a special teamer for us. We got Will Kazmarek, who's a rotational guy for us. Yep. We didn't go out and spend $20 million on these transfers. We spent $20 million on keeping a Jack Sawyer around.
Yep.
On keeping a JT around, keeping, Denzel Burke around and things like that. Like, I'm so sick of it, man. And on top of that, when it comes to Michigan itself, they act like they didn't spend $16 million on a 7-5 roster. Yes, I understand that they beat us. Yes, they did. Rivalry games, anything can happen. But you still spent $16 million on that roster, and you just dropped $13 million for a guy who's in your state who literally said a couple months ago that Michigan doesn't develop quarterbacks. So he's literally going there just for the money. And, that's just the name of the game right now. And so, nobody's going to trash them for doing that. Underwood's a dog. You do what you got to do to get him. So that part of it is just – it's just so dumb. But, yeah, backtrack to our guy Luke, man. Listen, I know I've been around him for a long time. He doesn't shy away from big moments. And he never has. And that is a moment that I know that he was waiting for. Did he play his best game? Probably not. There were, a couple reps that I'm sure he would like back. Obviously, he gave up 1 sack. He had the false start penalty. But other than that, man, I thought he played solid. He looked good when he was pulling. There was just some really good things. And one of the things I think they see in him now is he plays with an edge, man.
Yeah, he does.
He is a Buckeye through and through, homegrown. He's the offensive line's version of Jack Sawyer.
Yep.
In my opinion. And so, you need that edge out there. And that's not a knock on Tegra or Austin. I don't know them at all, but I just know that what Luke brings, he's got a chip on his shoulder, man. This is a kid who thinks he should have been playing all season long. And so there's still a part of him that's going to continue to try to prove to them, hey, you should have had me on the field in the first place. And I love that about him. You're right. He finds a way to dig deep and get that, motivation from other places too. And it's just I'm just really proud of the way he stepped up, man. Down the goal line, he had some really good blocks. On the 4th and 2 play, he pulled and the guy that he was pulling for wasn't there, so he just went and found a body, did a good job on the screen.
He literally was looking for somebody to go hit.
Yeah, and so like I'm just very proud of him, man. Stepped up when we needed him to, and I know he's excited for this one, man, because Notre Dame was a school that was really recruiting him and his brother very, very, very hard, and so I know this game's going to mean something to him as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know Luke. I've never met Luke, but I almost felt like a proud father when after the Travion unsportsmanlike, it wasn't a senior out there getting in Trey's face. It was Luke Montgomery, the sophomore, grabbing Trey, and getting him, refocused.
Yeah.
So that to me was just chef's kiss. There's no other way to put it. I mean, that was freaking phenomenal.
It's culture, man. It's culture. It's and to be Trey in that moment, a guy who's been here for 4 years, been a leader on this team, has done everything the right way. Obviously both Luke and Trey are extremely strong in their faith. And I guarantee you, Luke said something to him about that, right? Remember who you're representing. You're not just representing the Buckeyes, you're representing the person that we serve. And I think it's great, man. It's a great way to humble yourself. And, and I think it worked out obviously for Trey. And so to see Luke step up for the guys in that moment, man, I thought that was pretty cool, man. Definitely, I'm an emotional guy, man. I got a little teary-eyed seeing that, man, because it's just, that's the stuff that lasts forever, man. And that's the things that as a coach, you're proud to see from your guys.
Yeah. I mean, because that's something you had a role in, and, we've talked about Stephen Adams a lot, know, and so shout out to the Finley staff, because that is something that you don't just teach, but you embrace. And you hit on it. I'm not a religious person per se, but to see the faith that this team has explains so much. And they have taken so much crap from so many people over it.
Yeah.
And now you have the same people embracing it because they're realizing, hey, there might be something here. Like, this is bigger than all of us at the end of the day. I mean, so shout out to the Treys and the G's, those guys who I think really spearheaded it's okay to be vocal about this.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And that's obviously as a teacher of public education, it's not something that, you're really allowed to be extremely vocal about. I have my own personal beliefs and, to see people, not ashamed of what they believe in. Like that is something that I love seeing, especially from young people. We live in a world where, they shun you for every little tiny thing about you as an individual. And to see people that are unashamed and marching and following whoever it is that they serve, man, like that's so cool to see, man, to see guys believing in something and really standing up for it. Like that's awesome, man. Those are the future leaders, man. And that's really cool to see from our guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, switching over to the defensive side of the ball, obviously we know where the conversation has to start. 83 yards through the eyes of Texas.
Man.
Like, it's so ironic, I guess. We play Alabama in New Orleans. The dagger is Zeke. We're playing Texas in Texas, and not only to just get the strip sack there, but to be able to house it, to step on the throat, and put Bevo on the grill. I mean, at that point, and obviously I've made no bones about how much of a Jack Sawyer fan I am. Jack Sawyer got a moment taken away from him in the Michigan game.
Yeah, he did.
And this, I'm just going to say it because of Ryan Day and Chip Kelly. To see Jack be able to redeem himself in that moment in the biggest game of the season to this point. And, I feel bad for Quinn Ewers because Quinn Ewers carried himself with class this whole week. He was given every chance and baited every which way he could be to say something negative about Ohio State. And even after the game, it was sheer class. Stark was classy as hell after the game. But Captain Jack, who again played like a man possessed, JTT, even after the ankle injury, played like a man possessed.
Yeah.
But on the Captain Jack scoop and score, I have to give props to Sonny Styles.
Oh yeah.
If Sonny Styles does not get in front of the running back, I don't know if the running back catches Jack because Jack's not slow.
Yeah.
But if he gets there, you risk a punch out. A Maurice Claret, Sean Taylor situation.
Yeah.
And to not hit him in the back, you actually saw Sonny throw his hands up and cut the guy off. I mean, it was picture perfect. And you hit on culture about the offensive line and the offense. That whole defense outside of Caleb Downs, which Caleb was having a moment. Because it was at that moment that Caleb Downs realized this is why I came here, I think.
Yep.
But that whole defense was running. And JTT said it after the game, I ran 80 yards for no reason.
Yeah.
But that's who we are.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And that play. So I was telling today at gymnastics, I was talking to some people and I was telling them, everybody's asking, oh, did you watch the game? You watch the game? I'm like, yeah. And I'm telling them like my mom. So my mom is it's crazy because she's married to a football guy. She's got 2 sons that are football people. Football is our life. And my mom could give 2 you-know-whats about the game of football. She doesn't care at all. Like, the Browns are on, okay, she'll go turn the game on, but then she'll go, all right, I'm going to go take a nap. She doesn't care. My mom didn't come to any of my games until I was a senior in college, a senior in high school. And even then, it was like pulling teeth to get her there. It's just football's not her thing.
Right.
She has been locked in these playoffs.
Love it.
I mean, locked in. And when that play happened, like, that's going to be something I will never forget for the rest of my life. Just hear my mom screaming, like jumping. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, it's happening. And it's just like you said, man, Jack deserved that moment. And everything that led up to the strip sack, the technique of dipping underneath the block and just doing all the things that Coach Jay had taught him. All right. And then to see, everybody chasing after him. Downs is having his moment. You got Sonny throwing up his hands. Sonny can fly too, by the way, because he outran that kid. And to see everybody running, you got Luke coming out on the field doing like the horns down stuff. But just to see all those things, and then you see the reaction when they come to the sideline. You see the way Ryan Day is reacting. You see the way he jumps into Jack Sawyer's arms. You see the way LJ is in Jack's face, giving him a squirt. You know what I mean? Giving him some water, like, because that's his guy. That's like his baby. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
To me, like, I just got goosebumps thinking about it. It just goes to show like how strong the brotherhood is. Everybody was genuinely excited and just couldn't be happier for who it happened to. And in that moment, man, he just became a Buckeye legend. I mean, he would already, in my opinion, after the Michigan game, already had garnered a lot of respect from Buckeye Nation forever. But I think, he stamped our ticket to the national championship, and people will never forget that moment, man. That was huge.
Yeah. And obviously you hit on everything going into that play. So obviously, they tried to run it right up the middle, and that interior D-line, the push, then they run the pitch. Sark has been crucified nationally, by the Texas folks. Oh my God, why would you run that there? And we were talking before we hit record. I don't hate the play call because you knew you weren't getting it up the middle.
Yeah.
There's a reason that Ohio State's defense said, if you give us an inch, we're going to defend it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I don't think it was the best play call, but I also see what he saw. I think he saw, all right, maybe we're not able to get up the middle. Let's try, to hit this on the edge. Wisner in the backfield, he's got burners. He's a great outside zone runner. Let's try to get him on the edge, get him one-on-one with somebody, make a miss. He's able to get vertical, find a crease, tutty, right? I think the Buckeyes just were trigger pullers, and they didn't stay blocked. Lathan Ransom made his dude miss, didn't stay blocked. Caleb Downs did something that I preached to our guys to not ever do unless you know for a fact you're going to go make the play. He dipped underneath the block and still found a way to get out there to slow him up. Like, you can't, as an offensive coordinator, you can't account for that. The defensive guys are allowed to make plays too, and that's just what the Buckeyes did. And then just to see everybody rally to the football. So was it my favorite play call? No. Would I have rather have gone with a quarterback sneak or put Arch in? Yes, I probably would have. But at the end of the day, that's the call that he made, and the Buckeyes were able to shut it down. And so, I don't think it was a terrible play call, but I think the frustration is warranted. I think there are a lot of different things they could have done instead of that, but I get what they were trying to do. They lined up an unbalance. They tried to create the numbers, but Ohio State did a great job adjusting. And Ohio State ended up taking over the numbers and having 5 to their 4. And anytime you have the numbers like that, you're probably going to win the matchup. And so, it was a good – listen, you can't run great offense against also great defense. You know what I mean? Like, the defense is allowed to step up and make plays too, and that's just what the Buckeyes did.
Well, you actually hit on it because we were going to switch roles for a minute because I actually saw a really good angle of that play. And Ohio State was in man.
Yeah, oh, heck yeah.
So Texas tried to get a little sexy with their pre-snap stuff, and they rotated, they sent the guy in motion to the left side of their formation. Well, Lathan went all the way with him.
Yeah.
We didn't roll or invert our formation. So it was at that point Ohio State had the numbers on that side.
Yeah.
And Texas never adjusted for it.
Yeah, and I believe, and I have to look at it, I believe that ended up being some sort of unbalanced formation for them, which means one of their receivers was ineligible. And so that means they can't release on a route. And so whoever was technically in man coverage against them, they are no longer having that responsibility of guarding them in man coverage. So they can just kind of go and play free. And so I think that's what ended up happening. I had to go back. I haven't watched the film yet, but, watched all of it. I've watched a lot of the offensive film, but not much of the defensive film. And so it'll be interesting to see. But, yeah, man, they were trying to get the numbers, and the Buckeyes did a good job adjusting, man. That was just the speed of the defense, man. That was so cool to see.
And it would be remiss, Jordan Hancock played his tail off.
Great game.
And then obviously, they had the 2 touchdowns, both on almost the same, route. I think on the one, I'll be interested to get your take on it once you watch it. I think Sonny, one of 2 things happened, and or both. I think it was on the second one. I think Sonny's eyes got caught up.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And I wondered if he thought he had over-the-top help.
Yeah. That's one of the tough things about playing man coverage against trips formations. I've never been a fan of it. But, when you have elite athletes, you can get away with it. And the reason why I don't like playing trips I like a ton of man coverage of trips, it allows you to get picked off a lot.
Yep.
And it ends up putting in the situation we were in. You're going to get a linebacker matched up with a running back, and I don't necessarily always like those matchups. But I do think Sonny is capable of defending that. I really do. But you got to be really disciplined with your eyes. And that was a situation where I don't think he was. And they did a good job on the first one of really trying to get that rub route where they were running the slant into Sonny. So Sonny had to bow his route. I think Sonny could have played that a little better and, maybe backed up a little bit. Because if you're playing man coverage, you're likely okay with giving up a little bit in the run as long as you're able to just rally to it and make the tackle. I would like to see Sonny back up to maybe 5 to 6 yards and put himself in a better position to go play something like that out of the backfield. But, they'll learn from it. I guarantee you they'll have some sort of wrinkle up their sleeve when it comes to playing trips formations. whether it's playing quarter, half and rolling the safety to the single receiver side. So now that corner, if the back releases out of the backfield, now the corner is going to end up taking it, not an outside backer. So there's different things that they can do. Listen, Sark's a really good coach. He found his matchup, and you're going to take that as an offensive coordinator. I'm going to take my running back against your linebacker all day long. So shout out to them for making good play calls, man. That was good. They called us a man coverage, and they won their one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously not to dive too much into Notre Dame, because obviously we are going to need to run that back with Jake because we're 3-0.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame is not going to try to attack us deep. Notre Dame is going to try to do a lot of the same things, backs, tight ends. It's going to be an interesting chess match.
Oh, for sure.
Also, we were discussing this. We looked at snap counts. We actually had those Friday night. We had those quick. So Denzel was dinged up in some way, shape, or form. We didn't know. We thought it was maybe after the missed tackle. It makes me wonder if he got a stinger on that play.
Could have.
Because that was the play after that Jermaine Matthews came in and showed you exactly why BIA is just A-okay for next year. I mean, they will be fine.
Yeah, Jermaine Matthews, anywhere else in the country, he's starting, and you could argue that he should be starting over Denzel or even IGB. Like you could make the argument that he could be starting somewhere in the secondary, and so you're not really losing much, trading out Denzel for Jermaine or IGB for Jermaine. I think he's basically another starter. He rotates in a ton anyway. He graded out as a champion, Coach Day said today. And, he's a special player, man. He's a dog, like an absolute dog. And
he's got some fire to him.
That's the type of guy you want in your secondary, man. He wanted to be a Buckeye. You heard him last week defending Coach Day. Like, that's the type of guy you want in your secondary. And so I have no worries at all if Denzel is even hindered at all next week, which I don't think he will be. But if he is, if Jermaine's got to be the one that steps in and Jordan Hancock has to be the third corner, Lorenzo Styles has to come in and be the nickel. Like, hey, I feel perfectly fine with where we are as a secondary in that area.
I am super amped at the thought of some combination of Jermaine Matthews, Aaron Scott, and Devin Sanchez. I don't think that so much trash will have ever been talked by our corners since like the Marshawn Lattimore, Damon Arnett days, because Devin Sanchez has put a bullseye the size of the state of Texas on himself if he plays week 1 next year.
Oh, God, yes.
Him and Riley Pettijohn both come out after the game and they tweet out, "The best in Texas leave Texas." Talk your mess, young man. Talk your mess. I love it.
It's a pretty bold statement.
And then obviously also in the it's only fitting category, Caleb Downs getting the pick to truly seal the game. But the play that Caleb Downs made in that game that, again, might be slept on as a game-changing play. When Caleb Downs tripped up Ryan Wingo on that screen.
Yeah, man.
That was 6.
Yeah.
If he doesn't trip him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great play. So Tyrann Mathieu is like probably my second favorite defensive player of all time, right? That year that he had at LSU was something I will never forget. I watched it like a freaking hawk. He was just a special player. And Bob Sanders as well. Caleb Downs has some Tyrann Mathieu in him, man. Like, finds a way to get you down. It's not always the prettiest. It's not always, textbook, but he finds a way to get you down. And that's what football, that's what defense is about, tackling. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to find a way to get you down on the ground. And that's one of the things I love about him. He's not afraid to wrap and squeeze. He's not afraid to throw his body around in there. There's a couple plays where he's basically the pseudo Mike linebacker and he's rolling down, making run fits in the box, in between the tackles. Like he's a special football player. And to see him, make those plays and step up for us when we needed him to, and obviously to get the interception to seal the game, like that was awesome, man. Like, so Caleb Downs, shout out to you, man. You are a special dude, and we need you to do it again one more time, man. One more time, man. That's what we need from you. But yeah, Caleb Downs, absolute dog.
Also was very, very cool. Something we've talked about before. Mosi, right on the sidelines again.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine the number of former Buckeyes you are going to see on that sideline next Monday night.
Yeah.
I think it.
And that's going to be cool for Coach Day. For my wife and I were talking about this. My wife's a big Ryan Day fan. This national championship is going to feature two really good guys as head coaches. Regardless of what Marcus Freeman said about making a mistake about coming to Ohio or not going to Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman's a good dude, and he's built a great culture over there, and they are fully bought into it, and he's doing a great job. And I can say the same for Ryan Day. I think Ryan Day is, such a likable guy. I think, obviously until he beats Michigan, people are going to give him crap for it until forever. But it's going to feature two really good guys, and just to see that excitement and to see the passion that, those guys have for Coach Day, like that is something that, just the brotherhood, man, the brotherhood. And so to get those guys to come back and really support the Buckeyes, man, I think that will mean a lot to Coach Day. And if we're able to pull it off, like, it's just like, it's a redemptive arc for Coach Day. And now he's slayed one demon, and now he can go focus on beating Michigan and all these next years, however many years he's here. But, I think it will be really cool to see all those guys come back and show some love to the guys, man, because this group deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is just – it's almost surreal to think, where we were at to where, where we start the year, then you kind of experience, okay, the Oregon loss we didn't put a lot of stock into, and obviously retribution was there. The Michigan loss makes you question a lot of things. Another thing I'm really excited to see is, no matter the outcome of the game, how open the program is being about acknowledging the fact there were players-only meetings that we had heard about and those type of things. It truly is a galvanized team. It's going to be a special night. You have two of the absolute blue bloods of college football. I hope Notre Dame comes out in those cheesy green uniforms. I know they won't.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
This is obviously also your reminder that Rudy was definitely offsides. It's going to be a blast. We'll get there. Before we kind of dive into some leaves and bullets, because there's plenty of those to go around. Not so much portal news for Ohio State, but a very, very big transfer portal entry this week. Carson Beck, who, last year would have been a top 20 pick, give or take, I would guess. And even this year would have been like a second or a third round pick. Obviously the injury, and honestly, he looked awful.
Yeah.
He's going to go be TikTok famous. He's going to go hang out in Miami with Hannah Cavender because she's not getting drafted. Her sister's going to get drafted to the WNBA, but Hannah's not.
Yeah.
So with the addition of Carson Beck, the current odds on Miami to win the national title next year have gone to 35-1. Meaning that if you would bet $100 on them to win the Natty next year, you would lose $100.
Yeah. Carson Beck, hey man, do what you got to do. Go make your money. Right. I think that elbow injury is going to be. I think it's a little worse than he may have expected. And so if he can go collect a nice fat paycheck and go to the U and potentially battle for an ACC championship and win 9-10 games and finish your career off in a strong way and get drafted, like go get your bag, go up and live up in Miami, live it up in Miami with your girl, and hey, not mad at you, man.
Yeah, and I think I saw somebody on Twitter today, one of the Ohio State beat guys, or might have even been an NFL guy, say they're not mad about it because this could be one of the perks of the NIL era. You know, the number is somewhere around 3 million that he's getting. You're going to see guys, and you know, quarterback's the most important position in all of football.
Yeah,
you essentially now have a true farm league. You know, you are going to have guys who are those borderline guys get another year of development, and the NFL doesn't have to worry about putting them on a roster.
Absolutely. That's Will Howard's a perfect example. You know, he had a draftable grade. You know, it wasn't a first, second, or third rounder. He's going to be a mid to late round draft pick, you know, based off of last year, probably later in the rounds. But, you know, I think he's put himself in a position that he could, you know, if he has a good combine season, like he could be a third round, fourth round guy. Like, you know what I mean? And he's another seasoned year of development. If you look at the young quarterbacks who are coming into the NFL and having success, they've started a lot of games. They've not been
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, they've not been one and done. They've started a lot of games. And that's where I will give, you know, my cousin Brandon, I will give him some love here when it comes to Cam Ward. That is one thing I think Cam Ward has going for him. He's played a ton of football, multiple levels. And so, like, he's been tested, man. And so, you know, hey, do what you got to do. Carson Beck, I'm glad you're not coming to Ohio State, but, you know, hey, go live it up down there, man.
Yeah, I mean, because I am excited for Julian Sayin. You know, so I mean, as far as the Texas game goes, you know, the portal, that kind of wraps everything. Hopefully some good portal news coming in the next day or so. Because I think tomorrow starts a dead period, 3-day dead period.
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds like we are on watch for a couple of big things in the 26 class.
There we go.
The SFE to Columbus Express may continue sooner than later. Obviously, we'll have plenty of time to talk about all that stuff after the 20th. Because the next episode, y'all already know, is going to be before the battle. We are obviously trying to get Jake on, you know, schedules permitting. It's awesome. You know, I've had people talk about how much fun that is, you know, with you guys really just diving in. And I think the last one was great because we were able to get it on all platforms because we were able to do a really good job at talking through it and not having to rely so much on video. So, Buckeye leaves, Silver Bullets. I'm going to let you start since I always start and I get to take all your guys. I'm going to let you go first.
All right. So the first Buckeye leaf I'm going to give out, unsung hero, unsung MVP of this team, Donovan Jackson. I can't sit here and ignore what he's doing anymore. You know, I am just so impressed with him as a person. I'm impressed with him as a leader, his selflessness, and just what he's done to really help, you know, keep this thing going up front, man. It's been awesome to see. So he gets my first Buckeye leaf. My second one is going to go to my guy Luke, just because he made his first start, man. I'm just so proud of him. I think he did a really solid job, and you know, just something that I will never forget. Just seeing him talking to Trey like that, and just doing those things, man. True leader. He's got a good future ahead of him with the Buckeyes. And then the last one, because I know that you're going to give something to Carnell. So my last Buckeye leaf is going to go to G. Scott. You know, stepping up these last couple weeks, man, and really making plays when we need somebody else to make a play. It's been great to see. You know, this is a guy who's been around for 5 years, stuck around, you know, didn't transfer, put on the weight to play tight end. He's worked himself into it being an NFL caliber tight end.
Yes. And
to see him fight for those extra yards, you know, really set up that 4th and 2, man. Shout out to that kid, man, because he's doing a great job, man. And obviously he's been to Marion a few times. And so, you know, those are the big 3 that I wanted to make sure I gave some love to.
I'm going to shout out Terry McLaurin because that dude just scored a touchdown, and he is so stinking good. And he follows me on Twitter.
There we go.
So yes, Carnell Tate. I just, like I said, it wasn't a legacy game like I called, but in a way it was, because it showed you can rely on him. You hit on it with the drop touchdown, and to be able as a sophomore to come in, bounce back from that. This kid's got hands, and that's why the drop touchdown really surprised me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize how open he was at first, and then it's like, that's not good, man. But
yeah,
he got it. Along with Zone 6, I'm going to give one to Jeremiah Smith, because the way he handled getting grilled after the game, he didn't let this game affect him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to use it as a major, major motivator.
Yeah.
Because I was going to give one to G, so I plugged Jeremiah in there. And Quinshon Judkins.
Oh, yeah.
This dude, we haven't necessarily gotten Ole Miss Quinshon, but we haven't needed Ole Miss Quinshon.
No.
When you look, we're seeing the fruits of the two-back system more now, and this is what we needed it for.
Yeah.
These boys are still fresh.
Yep.
Travion's straight line speed on that screen pass, once he hit like the 40,
rolling.
Like, that's 4.40. Like,
oh yeah.
And now the national guys are starting to notice. I've seen Alvin Kamara, comparisons. I've seen, I don't think it was Bucky Irving, because I think Bucky Irving's probably a little bit faster, and he's not and Trey's bigger than Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
I can't think of the other one. So, shout out Quinshon. He's starting to run with a purpose again. And like I said at the beginning, that block on the one run, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So really, really quick, I just wanted to, I just got on to the OSU football website to look at the stats. Travion Henderson has 967 rushing yards, 7 yards a carry, 10 touchdowns. Quinshon has 960 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. Needless to say, they're both on the brink of having a 1,000-yard season. And to think, if you had a team in the NFL in 16 games in the regular season had 2,000-yard backs, everybody would go crazy about that, right? And so we are on the precipice of having that if we're able to run the ball successfully against Notre Dame. And so, shout out to those guys, man. They're well over, probably close to 1,200 yards in total offense as well. Yeah. Trey's definitely at 11 to 1,200, and Quinshon's not far behind him. So, just phenomenal to have those guys. All right, now back to business. Silver bullets. Jordan Hancock, my dog. Like, I think I was questionable about how he would feel about moving to nickel 2 years ago. But to see the transition that he's made over this time, and then to become the physical player that he's become, there's one blitz where he's forcing the running back into Quinn. Like, Jordan Hancock, dog. Wouldn't mind seeing him in Cleveland. That'd be great. My second one, obviously Jack. I don't even. That goes with if I could give him money.
I'm gonna give Jack the whole damn helmet.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. He deserves it all. But my last one, I'm gonna give some love to who I think is the best safety in the country, Caleb Downs. You can't underestimate the value that he has to our defense, and he is just an absolutely special player, man, that I'm just freaking glad he's a Buckeye.
All right. Well, I am going to go with JTT. Sack and a half before the roll up. Comes back in after halftime. I'm sure he got a cortisone cocktail, and dude looked great. I am also going to go with Caden McDonald, because there were a couple of run plays that he blew up the middle. Honorable mention to Sonny Styles because he still did his thing. Led the team in tackles, the block on the scoop and score. And I was going to give my third one to Jermaine Matthews, but we kind of talked about him. I'm going to go with Edric Houston.
Yeah.
To be a freshman, change positions in the middle of your freshman year.
Yeah, man.
And you're getting meaningful minutes in the national semifinal, and you're making an impact. So shout out to him.
Yeah, that's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. Edric Houston can play. I think he'll be about 280 pounds next year, maybe a little bit more, and an absolute force as a 3 technique, man. But yeah, those are all good picks.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because, there were so many. I mean, like you said, with Jack, like I said, Jack gets the whole helmet. But yeah, with that, I would love to tell you guys that I know when we're going to have before the battle out, but I don't. So I'm not going to tell you. It will be out before Monday, the 20th. How about that?
There we go.
As always, shout out to Chris at the bar and Jake at Cornerstone. That's all I got.
Yeah, man. That's all I got myself.
All right. We will see you guys this week.